In the 20th century, Carl Jung treated countless patients suffering from burnout. Not the term we use today, but the same feelings of emptiness and exhaustion. One patient, a highly successful banker, came to him, drained and disillusioned. Jung didn't prescribe rest or vacations. Instead, he asked one question. When did you stop listening to yourself? The man was stunned. He realized that he had spent years chasing goals society valued, not goals that truly resonated with him. His life, his choices, his identity, all carefully crafted to fit the expectations of others. In that moment, he understood. The burnout wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a signal from his psyche, begging him to stop, reflect, and realign. This story isn't unique. Think about it. How many of us live our lives on autopilot, meeting deadlines, fulfilling obligations, and striving to achieve success as defined by others? We push harder, hoping that more effort will bring relief, only to end up feeling more exhausted. Jung called this phenomenon a crisis of the soul. Burnout, he believed, wasn't a failure, but a message. A signal that we are out of sync with our true selves. It's not a problem to be solved with rest. It's a wake-up call to rediscover who we are. As you watch this video, I want you to reflect. Are you living the life you truly want, or the life you think you're supposed to want? Let's explore why burnout happens and how Jung's teachings can guide you back to alignment. Burnout isn't just about feeling tired. It's deeper than physical exhaustion or working long hours. It's a psychological battle, a conflict between the life you're living and the life your inner self knows you're meant to live. It's what happens when your actions and choices are misaligned with your true values and desires. And the harder you push to ignore it, the louder it becomes. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, gave us a powerful way to understand this. He introduced the concept of the shadow self, a part of us we keep hidden. The shadow is made up of the emotions, desires, and traits we suppress because they don't match who we think we're supposed to be. Maybe you've buried your creativity because you were told it's impractical, or you've silenced your ambition because you're afraid of failure. But here's the thing, that shadow doesn't disappear. It lingers, quietly pulling at your energy, your motivation, and your joy. When we suppress parts of ourselves, we create an inner conflict that drains us. Over time, this disconnection builds into burnout. Jung believed burnout is a signal. It's your psyche's way of saying, hey, something's not right, you're not listening to me. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a call to reconnect with yourself. Think about it. What parts of you have you been ignoring? What passions, dreams, or even frustrations have you buried because they didn't seem to fit the life you're living? Identifying those suppressed parts isn't just important, it's the first step toward understanding and overcoming burnout. Let's go deeper into how this plays out in our modern lives and how we can start to realign. Let's talk about your day. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone. Notifications, emails, deadlines, it all floods in before your feet even hit the floor. You rush through your morning routine, barely tasting your coffee, just to get to work and face an endless stream of tasks and expectations. By the time you're home, you're too drained to do anything meaningful, so you zone out in front of a screen, only to wake up the next morning and repeat it all over again. Sound familiar? You're not just tired, you're running on autopilot, fighting yourself without even realizing it. It's not your fault. Society constantly tells us to push harder, achieve more, and ignore what we truly need. We're surrounded by messages that success is measured by how much we accomplish, how busy we are, and how well we keep up with the grind. And the more we chase these external markers, the more we lose touch with ourselves. The problem is, we weren't built for this. We weren't meant to live lives that are all about doing and achieving without any time for being and reflecting. When your days are filled with noise and obligations, there's no room left for you, for your inner thoughts, your real passions, or your quiet needs. Burnout isn't laziness or weakness. It's what happens when the gap between the life you're living and the life your inner self wants gets too wide. It's your psyche's way of saying, something's got to change. Take a moment. Think about your own life. Where are you rushing? What are you sacrificing? Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free. Let's explore how Carl Jung's teachings can help us close that gap. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, not with dread, not with exhaustion, but with a quiet energy that feels natural. You open your eyes, and instead of rushing into the chaos of another day, you feel grounded. Your mind isn't racing, and your chest isn't heavy. Why? Because everything you're about to do aligns with who you truly are. Picture this. You go through your day with clarity. You're no longer chasing goals that feel hollow or pleasing people who don't truly see you. The work you do, the decisions you make, they don't drain you. They fuel you because they come from a place of authenticity, from a connection with your inner self. What would that life look like for you? Would you spend more time creating, learning, connecting with loved ones? What would you let go of? The obligations, routines, or expectations that no longer serve you. Now ask yourself, what's stopping you from living that way? It's not that life has to get easier or that circumstances have to change. It's about realigning with what matters to you deep down. Burnout is the result of living out of sync. But if you start to listen to your dreams, your frustrations, even the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, that energy you're longing for is waiting to return. Take a moment and reflect. What's one small thing you could change today to move closer to that life? Keep that in mind as we continue, because this shift starts with awareness, and it starts with you. Carl Jung introduced a powerful concept called the shadow self, and it holds the key to understanding burnout. The shadow is made up of all the parts of yourself you've suppressed. Your desires, fears, frustrations, even your passions. These aren't inherently bad. They're just the pieces of you that don't fit the image you think you need to project to the world. But here's the problem. The energy it takes to suppress your shadow is the same energy that leaves you feeling burned out. Jung believed that to heal, we must confront and integrate our shadow. It's not about fighting these hidden parts of ourselves. It's about accepting them. When you embrace your shadow, you reclaim the energy you've lost, and that's when real healing begins. So, how do you start this process? Let me walk you through some practical steps. Journaling. Set aside 10 minutes today to write down one thing you've been avoiding about yourself. Maybe it's a fear you don't want to admit, or a desire you've ignored. Don't judge it, just get it out on paper. This act alone can reveal parts of your shadow that are crying for attention. Self-awareness. Pay attention to the things that consistently frustrate or irritate you. These moments often point to your shadow. For example, if you envy someone's success, it might reflect a suppressed desire to achieve something similar for yourself. Reflection. Ask yourself, what values, passions, or dreams have I buried to fit in or meet expectations? Maybe it's a creative pursuit you abandoned, a relationship you avoided, or a path you never explored. Shadow work isn't easy. It takes courage and honesty. But the reward is worth it. When you integrate your shadow, you stop fighting yourself, and that's when you'll start to feel whole again. Take this step today. What's one piece of your shadow you're ready to face? Let's explore that together. When you're burned out, the first thing people tell you is to rest. Take a vacation. Try mindfulness. Get more sleep. And while those things can help in the short term, they don't solve the root problem. Rest is like putting a bandage on a deep wound. It might cover it up for a while, but it doesn't heal what's underneath. The truth is, you can't escape burnout without addressing what's burning you out in the first place. Think about it. Have you ever gone on vacation, felt a little better, and then, a few days back into your routine, the same feelings of exhaustion return? That's because the problem isn't physical. It's psychological. It's emotional. It's a disconnect between the life you're living and the life your inner self is calling you to live. Carl Jung believed that burnout isn't just about doing too much. It's about doing the wrong things. It's about suppressing your shadow, ignoring your true desires, and living out of alignment with your authentic self. And no amount of sleep, relaxation, or mindfulness can fix that. So instead of focusing solely on rest, start asking yourself the deeper questions. What part of my life feels wrong, no matter how hard I try to make it work? What values or dreams have I sacrificed to keep up with expectations? Rest can help recharge your body, but it's shadow work, reflection, and realignment that will recharge your soul. Burnout isn't a sign you need to stop. It's a sign you need to change. Let's dive deeper into how to begin that transformation. Now, imagine a life where burnout isn't the background noise of your existence. Picture waking up each day not with dread or exhaustion, but with a quiet sense of purpose and energy. This isn't some idealized fantasy. It's what happens when you integrate your shadow and align your life with your inner truth. When you do this, burnout fades, not because life becomes easier or problems disappear, but because you're no longer wasting energy fighting yourself. You're living authentically, and that's where real transformation begins. Here's what happens when you take this step. Clarity. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become clear. You'll know what to prioritize because it aligns with who you are, not just what the world demands of you. Peace. The constant mental battle quiets down. Instead of feeling torn between who you are and who you think you should be, you'll feel a sense of harmony. Energy. The exhaustion lifts. By no longer suppressing parts of yourself, you reclaim the energy you've been losing to internal conflict. This isn't about perfection or avoiding challenges. It's about facing life with authenticity and resilience. You'll find that even difficult moments feel more manageable when your actions and values are aligned. Take a moment to envision this. A life where your choices reflect your truth, your work resonates with your purpose, and your days leave you fulfilled rather than drained. That life is within reach, and the first step is simply listening to what your burnout is trying to tell you. Let's continue, because this is just the beginning of how you can shift from surviving to truly thriving. In today's world, Carl Jung's teachings are more relevant than ever. We live in a society dominated by hustle culture, where success is measured by how much you achieve, how busy you are, and how well you can keep up. Social media constantly amplifies this, showing us curated versions of other people's lives that make us feel like we're always falling behind. The pressure to achieve externally leaves little room for internal reflection, and that's exactly where burnout takes root. Think about it. We've been taught that overachievement is a virtue and that perfection is the standard. You're expected to excel at work, maintain the perfect relationships, stay fit, and somehow still find time to keep up with the latest trends. It's exhausting. And it's no wonder so many of us are feeling disconnected and drained. Jung would say that this constant drive to meet external expectations comes at the cost of your internal alignment. The more you suppress your true desires, passions, or even your need for rest, the more you drift away from your authentic self. And the further you drift, the more energy it takes just to keep going. Take hustle culture as an example. It glorifies pushing through exhaustion, working late, and sacrificing personal time for productivity. But what happens when you reach your goal? Does it bring fulfillment? Or does it just feel like another item checked off a never-ending to-do list? Perfectionism is another trap. The fear of failing or not being good enough keeps you in a cycle of overwork and self-doubt. It's a recipe for burnout because it's impossible to win when the bar is always moving. Jung's teachings remind us to look inward and focus on what truly matters. In a world obsessed with doing more, his message of internal reflection and alignment is a breath of fresh air. Let's explore how to apply that wisdom in our own lives. Let's take this from theory to action. Here's what you can do today to start overcoming burnout and realigning with your true self. Reflect. Take just 10 minutes to journal. Write about one desire or fear you've been suppressing. Don't judge it, just let it out. Acknowledge, pay attention to your daily frustrations or recurring thoughts. These often point directly to your shadow self, the parts of you that need attention. Act, commit to one small change that aligns with your inner truth. It doesn't have to be life-altering, just a simple step toward living authentically. Burnout isn't your enemy. It's a message from your psyche, asking you to realign. Carl Jung gave us the tools to navigate this inner conflict. We just need to use them. As we close, remember Jung's words. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, but it's also the most liberating. Take that first step today. Your energy, clarity, and peace are waiting for you on the other side. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights like this. Let's continue this journey together.